here with Andy Shafer. He's the Chief Customer Brand and Marketing Officer at Gevo. We're hanging out at the SAF Congress 2025. You were up on stage. It was fantastic, Andy. We'll dive right into some questions here. Now, your role combines customer engagement, brand, and marketing. So, big role. Does this direct public engagement give you a different perspective on what it takes to scale sustainable aviation fuel adoption?
Maybe not a different perspective, but a much broader challenge. A lot of people in my role are just chief customer officers, and it's about the buy-sell relationship. The purpose of my role being that broad was to make sure that we focus broadly and build the ecosystem to make SAF successful across the world, not just a buy-sell relationship between a customer and an offtake contract.
Okay, so it's a very broad role and a very big job at that. So Gevo is a leader in delivering these low carbon fuels. So let's talk about customer demand. How do you see it evolving in this current political climate? That's a hot topic. And what's resonating most with airlines and corporate buyers right now?
So demand continues to progress forward on a steady basis, driven by a couple of things. One is the interest parties have in decarbonizing aviation, and the other is regulatory constructs and frameworks around the world. That's a little different than the political climate, which is a little bit around what's the narrative that you need to tell to be successful on this planet. And I think about it much like a stage with a show on stage. Today, the spotlight is on different actors on the stage than it was 2 years ago in a different administrative and political environment. But it's the same actors on the stage. It's just the lights on different aspects of things. So before it was all around climate and CO2 reduction. Now it's around as much energy security and economic development and jobs and prosperity as it is the climate. But they're all still on stage.
I love that theater metaphor. And in the next 2 years, maybe you see, different actors
Right,
on
the
stage.
actors will move around, the lights will move around, but the show's going to continue.
The show's always got to go on, right? So let's talk about brand perception because it's going to play a major part in aviation decarbonization. Now, how do brands like Gevo communicate SAF effectively while avoiding the term greenwashing?
So the first thing you have to have is an affordable product. So you have to have affordable SAF, and that's affordable fuel and carbon reduction. So that part has to start. But then the other part about this is the fuel part is a physical molecule that's tangible. We can look at, we can test it, we know it's there. I know what I bought. The carbon abatement part is an intangible that, how do I know what I got here? And so for that, the verification part of that and being absolutely certain that what I'm buying is what's been represented, and that verification part is critical. For Gevo, we formed our Verity business, and the Verity business job is from very first onset of feedstock all the way through delivery to the customer. We track and manage that carbon all the way through using a digital ledger technology that allows us to absolutely immutably verify that that's where the carbon reduction took place and you got what you paid for.
Okay, verification and then transparency, I'm hearing. And that leads perfectly into my next question, which is partnerships. You have many partnerships. You've talked about it at the Congress. Looking ahead, what do you think partnerships, and I'm talking airlines, corporate buyers, policymakers, will play in advancing Gevo's vision and scaling SAF more broadly?
We're back to my comment about the ecosystem, right? You have to bring all these things together. You have to deliver the fuel. That's more than a producer and an airline. There's a whole bunch of supply chain in between that. The corporates need to be involved in the scope 3 and the carbon reduction so that we can pay for the capital needed to build that plant to produce that fuel. All of those pieces come together, and there's a lot of other players, airports and on, that I haven't mentioned that are also going to be playing a key role in that.
The ecosystem. Okay, we come back to it. Sounds great. As we come to the close of this year's SAF Congress in 2025 here, what have been your key takeaways and what changes do you expect, hard one, but what changes do you expect to see by the time we reconvene next year?
We will see a number of changes, one of which I hope we can deliver is more SAF to the marketplace. I expect to deliver it, not hope. And advancing some of our projects around the world. I would expect that others are advancing as well because we need all of this to be successful. I would expect that the regulatory climate will continue to evolve around the world with additional geographies, both states in the U.S. and nations around the world getting more involved in looking at low carbon solutions. There'll be a lot of changes. There'll be a lot to talk about next year too.
Yeah, absolutely. And a main takeaway from this year?
another great series of conversations with the broad ecosystem that is moving this ahead in an environment that feels harder than it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Andy. That is Andy Shafer from Gevo at the SAF Congress 2025.